Good morning, everybody, and a happy Friday morning to you. I hope everybody's having a fabulous week so far. I know I am. You guys, we have a lot to cover in here, and I bet you can tell from the thumbnail what the big story is going to be towards the end. But of course, we do have some royal family stuff, so because they're out and about and busy, let's jump in, let's get busy, shall we? Let's go. We are starting off with King Charles. He spent time with the specialist officers of the British Transport Police before officially opening their new headquarters. Now, among the officers were some of the first responders that were involved in the Huntington train attack and the recent train crash in Bedford, as well as specialists from the K9 unit and the drone team. Now, the British Transport Police is a specialized police force for Britain's railways, London Underground, Docklands Light Railway, the Midlands Metro, the tram system, the Ware Metro, Glasgow Subway, all kinds of cable cars, and it polices the network across England, Scotland, and Wales. There was a ceremony. The King was able to unveil a commemorative plaque, and he addressed all the assembled staff at the end, including the chief constable. And he said he was very, very pleased to be able to do this. And if I may say so, congratulations to the whole of the British Transport Police for remarkable efforts all the time, all over this country. Now, the King, of course, the royal family put out a video. Here it is. Enjoy.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to move on now to Queen Camilla, who attended Wimbledon with her younger sister, Annabelle Elliott. Now, of course, once they arrived, Camilla had to come in. She met, I believe these are some of the bowl people, the people who run around and pick up the bowls as they fall around on the court. And she went around shaking hands, talking to everybody. We know how all that works. There was a lineup of Wimbledon staff, players, and local workers, including former British number one Heather Watson, who said it was lovely to meet Camilla, that she was super down to earth. She goes, I started sweating profusely with nerves, but she asked about my career, and she was lovely. The tennis star then spoke with Miss Elliott, who told Watson that they'd been coming there since they were very young. Watson added she had met the previous queen over 10 years previous. It was exactly the same sort of place. Camilla spoke with ball boy Zebedee, who studies at St. Cecilia's Church of England School, and Anya, who studies at the Tiffin's Girls' School. I think the Queen looked lovely as she took her spot in the royal box. Now, also with them in the royal box was Peter Phillips and Harriet. I guess you call her Phillips now instead of Sperling. And everybody was saying that she was channeling Princess Catherine because she just looked so glamorous in what she was wearing. Honestly, I think this woman had a really great style way before she started dating Peter. I don't think it's that she's channeling Princess Catherine, but I do think she's a great new addition to the family. I think everybody obviously really likes her. Looks so far like the marriage is going well. She is strikingly pretty, isn't she? Boy, she got a jawline on her, let me tell you. Now, there were some big names in the royal box as well. Sitting behind the Queen was Ellie Fanning and her boyfriend of 3 years, Rolling Stone CEO Gus Wenner. And one of her most famous roles was she played Catherine II of Russia on Hulu's The Great. The show is a satirical retelling of the story of Catherine the Great. I love that show. Now, also spotted walking in was Zara and Mike Tyndall, Princess Anne's daughter and son-in-law. They were among the VIPs in attendance at Center Court on Wednesday, looking absolutely gorgeous. And they looked like they were totally into the thing, the way they were yelling and screaming. Everybody was there in that center box, looking fabulous. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce and Carol M for showing us everything that the lovely ladies were wearing on this particular day. Let's move on, but sticking with the Queen. Now, sticking with the Queen, I told you the other day that she was in East Sussex because of the 100th anniversary of Winnie the Pooh. Well, she made a surprise visit to the Half Moon pub in Plumpton, near where she spent much of her childhood. She was very warmly welcomed, and they said she was a real character. All right, let's go back to Catherine, the Princess of Wales. You guys remember when she went to Wimbledon the other day, she was wearing that gorgeous blue outfit, and it was the day after her Three Peaks challenge. And I even said that I was shocked that she was able to walk because all that work that she did within 24 hours, I can't imagine she even got up out of bed, much less she's there at the tennis. Well, she was sitting and having a discussion with former tennis star Tim Henman. Here's what she said.
A, the preparation, and B, because you did it in 24 hours, didn't you?
I did it in 24 hours, yeah.
Wow.
I think that was a challenge anyway. I think part of the journey was trying to enjoy the process, like the training beforehand, but also making time during the walk to meet people and enjoy the journey rather than just actually just quickly getting to the top.
Sure.
The weather was atrocious. I mean, everybody got soaked through, but it was a very sort of stoically British thing to do. You know, you're soaking wet and everyone's going, come on, we can do it.
And was there a charity that you were supporting?
Yeah, so it was for the Royal Marsden Cancer Charity. I've just been so blown away by all the donations. You know, everyone's been so generous. That's what keeps you going, is when you know you're doing it for a good cause.
Definitely.
Keeps you going through the harder times.
She is just so wonderful. All right, moving on to Prince William. He is going to do the Royal Charity Polo Club 2026 at Guards Polo on Friday, the 10th of July. And the funds raised by the match will be distributed among 10 charities and causes that are supported by the Prince and Princess of Wales. And on the same day, Harry will be at some weird event, God knows what, doing the countdown to the 2027 Invictus. Yeah, whatever. Time to move on to our Harry Meghan stuff. Now, according to Rob Shooter on his Substack, well-placed sources say that Meghan feels that she and Harry have bent over backwards for his relatives only to be embarrassed again. Bent over backwards? Like, what the hell is she talking about? So as far as she's concerned, she'll never see them again. Now, apparently, she had predicted there may be drama surrounding Harry's return to the UK and, tried to warn him that this was going to happen because she believes that every time he reaches out to the family, they find another way to reject him. And she's done. She has no interest in putting herself or her children through this again. Like, are you kidding? Now that we know that they were feeding information to the press that was wrong, that they were lying, and for all of this, she feels that they bent over backwards for the royals? Are you freaking kidding me? She's just upset because Harry didn't get to stay in the palace. She's just upset because they didn't get their taxpayer-funded security, something they've been told for 6 years they weren't going to get. Nothing's changed. I don't know what she thinks she's doing other than playing victim. We all know what was going on. We've been reporting this for weeks. Harry and Meghan wanted the money shot of the family with the king. Then they wanted the king attending the opening of Invictus as commander-in-chief of the armed forces. This was supposed to boost them commercially using emotional blackmail. It was Harry who prevaricated over the accommodations offered at the palace, and the king got fed up with the whole thing, and he withdrew the access. And there's no other royal family members supporting them, so the trip has become a mess. However, there's been an interesting development. Now that Harry has lost his security case and Harry has lost his last court case, Harry is working with King Charles. Apparently, the king reached out and is trying to set things up. We know what's going on here. He has cancer. We really don't know how the treatments are going. This may be his last chance to see his grandchildren before he passes away. And so apparently he instructed senior aides to engage in talks with them in an effort to find time in his schedule so that he has a chance to see the children. I think normally Meghan would say no, but they need the royal family. They need the help. And they're still going to try to get that money shot of the kids with the king. Yep. Harry, in the meantime, is continuing on with his visits. He went to the Royal Hospital, Chelsea, and he snuck in a side entrance shortly before 12:30 so that he wouldn't have any pictures taken by the journalists and photographers that were waiting. And this was supposed to be, meetings, confidential meetings connected to the Invictus Games. And this is, again, he's marking the 1 year to go. Yeah, he was leaving Chatham House to head over, and the police were called because, according to the security people, they were blocking the road. People were blocking the road, and they were blocking the footpaths. And so they were called for that, and they were obstructing. But, they provided, they said, brief assistance to the security team. They didn't do crap. Harry walked right out, got in his car, and left. I think they're just trying to make it look like something happened. Now, people are saying it's time to remove Harry from the line of succession. And what they're saying is that as soon as William is king, Harry and Meghan will not get an invitation to the coronation, and the new king will act swiftly to create a smaller royal family, cutting Harry and his 2 kids out of the line of succession altogether. But they're basically Americans with no knowledge of the nation anyway, and it really is kind of insulting that they carry British titles, which are all about the cash, untethered to duty. So no, Harry's making a last-ditch attempt to reintegrate himself with Pa. I mean, listen, they could go meet, Thomas Markle, but let's be fair, Thomas Markle doesn't add anything to the brand. So, of course, it was a minor lapse in confidentiality, and therefore, he's out. Well, all right, now I want to remind you guys of the 5 cases that Harry's lost. We know about the case he just lost, and for Harry's portion, it was about 14 articles between 2001 and 2013. In January of 2025, Harry settled a claim against News Group newspaper, which publishes The Sun and the now defunct News of the World. They apologized for, hacking him and everything, and the intrusion into Diana. Number 3, Harry is being sued for defamation by Sentebale. He's also being sued next to Mark Dyer, and they reject the claims, and we're waiting for that to go to court. Number 4 was his claim against the Home Office for Security that he lost, he appealed, he lost, and the reality really played out this week when Meghan and the kids stayed behind because his request for security was denied. The last thing is the libel claim against A&L back in February of 22 about his legal case. He ended up withdrawing the claim, stating that he didn't want to give, Harry didn't, a continued platform to the male's false claims. But he would have lost. That's why he withdrew. Since Harry's lost his case, we found out that representatives for the group approached A&L to strike an agreement prior to the scheduled testimony at trial, but the lawyers said no. So he knew that the case was a dud, and he tried to kill it before he testified. I'm glad they fought. Let's move into our big story for today. Charlotte Griffith, she was one of the reporters that was being sued by Harry, the one who had the messages about Mr. Mischief and, kisses. Well, she's written an article. Here's what she had to say. I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version until we get to some really important stuff. First of all, she said she remembered meeting him in December of 2011 at a shooting weekend. She was a 27-year-old trainee journalist working on a gossip column for a different British institution, the Mail on Sunday, and the two of them were sitting next to each other at dinner. She said from his pocket, he removed a small white pill, held it up to my face, popped it onto my tongue and said with a smile, "Now I know I can trust you." What? She shoved a pill in this girl's mouth. Let me just point out, as the British prince did on X, it is illegal for anybody to pop any kind of pill into your mouth without your consent and pressure you or manipulate you to swallow it, whether it's a drink he spiked or any other substance. That could have been an ecstasy pill for all we know. But she said at that time, he was a well-regarded army officer. There were pictures of him falling out of clubs, and he was a live wire. But she said she took that white pill that he'd stuck in her mouth, and she discreetly removed it and folded up into a napkin. And she said it probably was something that was not sinister, but, whatever. Now, she goes on about he was always a prankster. What happened in Las Vegas, we all know about that. She talks about how he said in the witness box that, his social circles were not leaky, but the problem was that was wrong. And then she talked about the girlfriends, Cressida Bonus and Chelsea Davy, etc., as well as weekends that they got together, shooting weekends and things, things that happened. Well, it's at this time, and this is the part that just shocks me, it's at this time she admits that during the summer of 2025, a close advisor to Harry and Meghan contacted her out of the blue and invited her to lunch at the Ivy restaurant in London. And she was told at that meeting to place a series of stories in the Mail on Sunday that put Harry and Meghan in a positive light. And this included the front page article, which ran in July, saying that Harry and Meghan were attempting to rebuild a relationship with King Charles, and it revolved around the fact that Liam Maguire and Meredith Maines, Harry and Meghan's US PR chiefs, were to hold clear the air talks with the monarch's aide in London. And we remember this picture. So she was tipped off about the meeting, which was held at the Royal Overseas League near Clarence House. And the attendees made a point of sitting on the balcony, plainly visible from the public park below. And the Mail on Sunday arranged for the photographer to capture the scene. So I want you to understand what actually happened here. Harry and Meghan came out on the record and said that they were frustrated after details of the peace summit were revealed in a newspaper, and they denied they were behind the leak. Now we know they were behind the leak, but you know what's going to happen? They're going to say, we didn't know that Liam Maguire did that. He did it without our knowledge. That's what they're going to say. Remember, they had this meeting at the private members club in central London, and everybody was like, oh my God. I remember reporting it to you guys, and I remember saying even then, there's no way that they had this meeting. They just happened to be in this private club. They just happened to be on the terrace, and somebody just happens to snap a picture. So for all of Harry and Meghan's going on about the leaking and the planting, come to find out they're the ones doing it. I mean, my God, for all of his, it's Camilla, she's leaking and planting. He's the one doing it. Now, I want to finish with an update on this story. I told you the other day that Harry met up with Meeson Harriman, who just resigned as chair of the South Bank Center following some controversy over his social media activity because it's anti-Semitic. Anyway, Harry attended the premiere of Harriman's documentary called Shoot the People, and right after he got to Britain. And so the pictures came up. The problem is the shirt, Harriman's shirt. It's an anti-apartheid club shirt. This is a grassroots fashion and merchandising brand that supports Palestine liberation and the boycott, divestment, and sanction movement that argues that Israel operates an apartheid system against Palestine, an allegation rejected by the Israeli government. So here, Mr. Harriman first said that it was a smear campaign, that he wasn't really anti-Semitic. Then he shows up wearing this shirt, and there's Harry standing next to him. But as I told you before, Harry never said one thing after October 7th. Harry, when he was in Jordan, was visiting a center that had a lot of Hamas supporters working there. And when he spewed a bunch of falsehoods about Israel, he was invited to go to Israel to see for himself that the information he got was incorrect, and he refused. Yeah. Now, you guys know I really want your thoughts on this one. Like, seriously, we have a lot. There's just so much going on. Don't forget to put your comments down. Make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my father's book, which remains up for sale on Amazon, a link to my Amazon wishlist, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.